Hey everyone, Spicy Toast Gaming here with some massive news for Path of Champions. They being Riot, did a live stream talking about the balance changes of what's coming in the next patch, with some changes that are affecting the overall game balance, but that's going to actually carry over into Path of Champions, and then some Path of Champions specific changes. To start off, they confirmed that Nasus is going to be fixed next expansion. I didn't cover everything as far as the patch because a lot of it doesn't pertain to Path of Champions. I'll try to remember to link to that VOD down below if you want to go watch the whole thing. This is just going to be covering changes that actually affect Path of Champions directly. There's new content, changes to champions. Let's get into it. Alright, the first thing they are changing is Kane's passive. This is now going to be 4 cultists up from 3. This isn't going to make a huge difference, as normally you weren't able to get the 3 cultists to summon Kane anyways, because your cultist spells are pretty expensive. So your 4 cost cards are your cultist spells. Your other ones below it, they are not. Well, Momentous Choice potentially counts. Let's see. No, so it's only cultist units. So yeah, your 2 cultist units are your 4 cost units. So this passive was never really kicking in anyways, but now with this going up to 4, it's definitely not going to kick in. So your guaranteed draw for Kane is going to be worse, but again, you normally weren't relying on it anyways. Next, we have them nerfing Aatrox. So as you see here, it says 3 different other Darkin. This doesn't actually work the way it's supposed to, and they're changing it to work how it's supposed to. So it's supposed to be 3 different or 3 unique other Darkin, so you can't just keep reusing the same Darkin over and over again. This actually was a pretty good guaranteed draw for Kane, because with your star powers, create 2 random Darkin equipment in hand. So normally you could just shuffle these equipment and just put them on a unit, then replace them, and then put them back on. You could do that right at the start of the game, and you'd get a guaranteed draw for Kane. So that was pretty nice. This will actually be a decent nerf. You'll still generally be able to get Aatrox from this, since in your starting deck you start off with a couple Darkin equipment anyways, and then from your star power you're creating 2 more. This probably still will work for you, but that is getting nerfed in the next patch. So next up we have Alawi. They are buffing and nerfing different elements of Alawi. So first we have the Eye of Nagake Boros. This is going to focus speed instead of burst. Definitely is going to feel pretty bad. Quite often you could use this as a combat trick to save your tentacle and buff it up so it could survive whatever they're throwing at it. The fact that this is going to focus speed is definitely going to hurt, but hopefully the other buffs will compensate for that. Tentacle Smash, this is going down to a 3 cost instead of 4, so that'll be nice that you'll be able to use this more often. Alawi herself is getting 1 damage. So both of her forms, for her normal form, she's going to be at 2 starting off, and then her other form is going to be at 3. So that is another buff that Alawi is getting. For Jinx, her Death Rocket is going to 3 damage to the enemy nexus, so a small bit of a nerf, but one that shouldn't make too much of a difference for you overall. So for Vi, your Poro Cannon, this is getting increased to 1 cost, so you'll no longer be able to play this for free. This will hurt, as this is a great way to try to get a whole bunch of free spell casts and buff up your Vi in your hand. So this will hurt a little bit, but overall won't be that massive of a change, but you will definitely feel it. Alright, some big buffs coming in for Ornn. So Ornn is getting 1/1, so his base form is going to be a 5/5, and then his level up is going to be a 6/6. So that's pretty great. For his starting deck, the Weaponsmith Apprentice is going to 1 extra health, so this will be a 1/2, pretty good. And then Artisan is going to be a 2/3 instead of a 1/4. That'll be pretty decent. Normally you have more health than you know what to do with, and you'd really prefer to have it be a bit more balanced, so they are changing that, which will be nice. Next up, we have Jax, and Jax is getting Overwhelm, at least on his level up form. It wasn't clear on if it was his normal form, but the Overwhelm is actually going on Jax himself. So right now the Overwhelm is just going on the Light of Ikathia when Jax is leveled up. Now it will actually be on Jax and his weapon, so you don't have to worry about throwing on a different weapon on Jax and losing that Overwhelm. So now you can potentially throw on like the Scout Relic on him. You'll be able to still benefit with Overwhelm, so that's very nice. Nice change for Master Yi. So right now it's level up, I've dealt 12 damage. It's changing to allied Master Yis everywhere have dealt 12 damage. So the same sort of level up as Pike, where you don't have to do it with one champion. So if you're able to get some damage with one Master Yi and then he gets killed, if you play another one, you're still sharing that same level up. So just making it easier for you to level up your Master Yi. Very, very nice. Small change to Hate Spike. It is now going to 3 damage baseline instead of 2, so it'll have a little bit stronger removal for Evelyn, so also a pretty nice change. Alright, so I took a couple screenshots for the relic changes. This is going to be potentially not the best quality, as it was a screenshot of a stream that I'm now updating or zooming in on, so sorry if the quality is not the best, but trying to get this out for you guys as soon as possible. So we have a change for Hymn of Valor. When I'm summoned, create the redoubled in Valor. That is normal, but now it costs 3. So normally redoubled Valor, it costs 6 mana, so that going down to 3 is a pretty nice buff. That means you normally will be able to play it the same round or potentially next round. Guardian Angel, massive buff. Oh, I screenshotted my mouse on the picture. Great. Anyways, Guardian Angel. Start adventures with 1 revive, that's normal, but now, last breath, if it's the first time I've died this game, revive me with 1 health. This is going to be very nice, especially on champions like Teemo, where you normally start off with 1 health, so this will be a very nice buff. Before, Guardian Angel was a terrible relic in my opinion, because just having the revive isn't worth it, but now actually giving you the revive and protecting your champion, this will now be a very nice change. Also, a new relic, Chemtech Duplicator. When you play a spell, if you have 6 mana gems, copy it with the same targets. This should be a lot of fun. This is going to be something that only happens in the later game, because the 6 mana gems, that's not going to count the spell mana, it's just going to be your standard mana gems. It's nice that they're giving you some relics that scale into the late game, and they're not just early game focused relics. When we played the weekly adventure that had duplicate or copy all of your spells, it was tons of fun. So being able to essentially have that once you get to the later point of the game, very nice that they're not just focusing on your early game. This should be a lot of fun, looking forward to it. All right, next up we have a couple changes to items and powers. So Spirit Stone, when I'm summoned, create a fleeting copy of me in hand. This is going from epic to rare, so you're more likely to see it. Also, it's not going to appear on units that cost 4 or more, so it's always going to be your cheaper units, which is where you want this to happen, so that is quite nice. Star Chart, going from epic to common, this makes sense, it really wasn't that good. Radiant Plate Armor, this is going to be massive, so now it's going to be 3/3, but I cost 1 more. Before it was 4/4, but I cost 2 more. That 2 extra cost was almost never worth it, but right now, 3/3 for 1 extra cost, this is actually now worth considering in some cases and should be a great change. Reset, game start, create 3 Chrono Breaks in your deck. This can be decent, but yeah, it's nice that it's going from common to rare, because really it was not on the same power level as other rare powers. Next screenshot here, so when they're nerfing Stalker's Blade, of all the relics for them to nerf, I'm so happy that it's this one. So when I'm summoned, I strike the weakest enemy from the strongest enemy. Honestly, in my opinion, this is a buff, at least for me, because the most common time I use Stalker's Blade is on Kayn, and with Kayn, when you play him, you want him to kill a unit, that way he scales up by 2/2. So the fact that this is now going to strike the weakest, in my opinion, is actually kind of a buff, at least in the cases I normally use Stalker's Blade. Also think about it for like Echo, or not Echo, excuse me, with Pike. With Pike, when you're normally using Stalker's Blade, you want him to kill the target so he can then kill the next weakest and go on and on with his rampage. So honestly, they are framing this as a nerf, but in my opinion, this is a buff. Bear in mind when you're going through all of these changes, these are not all the changes there are going to be. They said there's going to be other changes coming as well, but the fact that they're nerfing Stalker's Blade instead of like other relics I'm not going to bother naming is hilarious to me. I actually like this change. This is, yeah, a buff. Studded Leather and Pickaxe. So this is no longer going to appear on 2 cost or less units. Now this isn't going to affect units that are getting this from your deck, from your starter deck. This just means when you're in an adventure, these are no longer going to appear for the 2 or less cost units. They think people were just stacking them too often on the cheap units and using that to win, and they didn't think that was very fun, so not really that big of a deal in my opinion, but yeah, that's not going to happen anymore. Alright, final slide. So these are the new items they were talking about. Game start, plant a mysterious portal on me, so common on any type of item, so this can be a unit, equipment, you know, whatever. Game start, plant a mysterious portal. That is Nora's, essentially, the main thing her deck is built around is if you draw a unit with a portal on it, kind of similar to Bard and his Chimes, the portal will summon a random like 1 to 3 cost unit, I believe. Poro Fluffit, this is going to be very interesting. Epic, unique item, reduce my cost and stats to 1, I am a Poro. So essentially, if you have some really crazy units, all their stats are going to go down, but they're going to benefit from being a Poro. But this is going to give you an amazing power for some really strong champions, or not champions, but some units. Like there's one epic unit that's like 8 cost, I forget its name, but if a unit has died this round, you play him, he kills 2 enemy units. Being able to play a unit like that, it's taking out enemy units, and you can play that for very cheap, being able to play that for 1. Or there's another one where it deals half the enemy Nexus health when you play him, but it costs like 9 mana. So being able to play some of those crazy game-ending cards that have a very powerful effect, that you're not playing them for their stats, Poro Fluffit will actually work quite well for that. Should be a lot of fun seeing what we can do with this. Common unit item, strike, draw 1, more draw, pretty nice. General, especially for having a common item, I think that's pretty good. Emperor's Favor, rare spell item, create a random card from the Emperor's deck in hand. The Emperor's deck is what you get when you level up Azir or ascend him. He gets rid of your whole deck and fills it with just super OP cards. So you're going to create a random card from that pool in there. Should be pretty good. Like I said before, this isn't all the changes, but a lot of interesting things coming in the next patch. I'm really interested. I like the fact that they're buffing up Ornn and at least his stats and his units. I hope that they change his powers a little bit. Little sad that they haven't mentioned that, but at least we're getting some changes. And yes, they did confirm Nasus is getting fixed next expansion, next patch, whenever that happens. So it's good to see that we are getting a good amount of changes. Alright, that's it. Sorry if the video was a little scuffed today, just trying to get it out for you guys as soon as possible. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. We're trying to cover all the news for Path of Champions. I hope you all have a great day.